Hey guys, Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio. Last month, September, we had Christian Ward join us. We did a lot of really, for the most part, spoiler-free talk about his new book, Batman City of Madness, on DC Black Label. Today, we're tearing the veil off that through the powers of time travel, and we're going to go full spoilers in for this one. So if you have not read the book yet, it is on shelves right now. Pause this, go pick it up, or if you read digitally, pick it up digitally, read the book, then come back here, listen to Christian pour out his heart, or make us try to shut up about it. But here we go. We've got Bat Force Tom in California.
Spoiler alert.
And returning with us to give us more spoilers, Christian Ward himself. Thank you again, Christian.
Hello. Lovely to see you both again.
Likewise. It's like you never left.
Been ages.
And now, so everyone gets to have Batman City of Madness in their hands now, your baby that you've been working on for years. And now we're gonna they've been warned, we'll spoil anything about it from here on out. If you didn't read it, it's at your peril now.
Yeah.
So as we were saying in the previous episode, this was your own, like, a pseudo sequel to the book that started it all for you, which was Batman Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth, full title, from Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. And what exactly did you want to give the world in this story, and where are you taking us?
So for one, this had to feel like a love letter to that book. It was a thank you for kind of setting me on this journey towards comic. As a job, but the thing that when I read that book as a 13-year-old, I couldn't grasp what was happening a lot of the time. It was just, but it always felt like it was dangerous. It always felt like it was not quite of our world, and there was this strange, eerie otherworldliness about it. Particularly the scene where Amadeus is kind of like, scratching, all the words on the kind of concrete floor. It just felt, what's going on? What is happening here? And as Batman kind of goes through the asylum in his night there, he's encountering these characters, and very often we're not even really introduced to who they are. Mm-hmm. And they're always presented in a way that they are, you're never quite sure who they are. There's like the guy, with all the electric stuff, and you're like, is that Zeus? Who is that? And then there's Clayface. Is that Clayface or is that somebody else? It's always very kind of strange, and you can't quite grasp it. And obviously, when he gets attacked by Killer Croc, it's just, there are monsters in this world. And that just stuck in my mind, that this book was a horror. It was almost like one of the first horrors I experienced. From the very first page of Joker pushing a pencil into somebody's eye, or did he? It was just, it terrified me. And so when I kind of allowed myself to think, okay, this book could be a pseudo sequel to Arkham, I am not going to try and retread the ground. I'm not going to try and do the same thing, but my mind was, this is a story that kind of happens in the same universe, kind of, and it alludes to that night, as you gentlemen all know. And there are characters. So the Doctor from Arkham Asylum is in this. She's now running Arkham Asylum, um, and he has an interaction with Mad Hatter. That's it's all there. But I wanted to harness that sense of otherworldliness and just follow that. Follow that sense of what is this? Batman has left his reality in Arkham Asylum and he's gone to another reality. And so I took that and I made it literal. We are dealing with a literal other reality that is evoked and created through madness. So it's very much kind of, taking Arkham Asylum and just going, okay, so let's just let it out and rip it open and just let it really go from there. So
Yeah, it's one of the to touch on that a little bit. We talked a little bit before, but something that I love is whenever something is definitely yours, it's your own.
okay.
Alfred is in this first issue, so we got
Oh,
Alfred, and it's
Alfred.
a very important viewpoint in that you kind of hear him lamenting about
Hmm.
what Batman has become, what Bruce has become, and it's really sad and hurtful to see, what he is kind of dealing with while he's watching Batman kind of spiral or become what he's become. And he that's it's a trauma for him because he even mentions as he's looking onto
100%. Yeah.
the images of the Waynes,
Hmm.
and he gives a little bit of he gives a bit of a confession in that he's kind of like, I'm sorry what happened, but I wanted vengeance also.
Yeah.
Part of it is something that I allowed. So
Yeah.
it's something that he's dealing with. And then we were mentioning earlier, the addition of the way you write Two Face in this, and how Two Face seems to, and it's a great take because you're kind of apprehensive to see what he's up to or what he's trying to do, and
Yeah.
you could tell um, he's kind of having a hard time with it, and it starts to slowly kind of open itself up to this idea that he's a messenger right now, and it's through his trauma and his psychosis that he is being given a message, and it's almost like, oh man, it's okay, he's almost like an antenna or a conduit
Yeah.
for something
hundred
else.
percent.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
In fact, in the script, I often refer to him as the tenor. For the character. And spoilers for obviously spoilers, but I never name the other personality that we see, the other Two Face that we see revealed in it, but he's called Third Face.
oh
Um,
nice.
Hearing it all, he's never named in the book, but that's his name. He's Third Face.
Okay.
But yeah, but to go back to kind of like to talk about Alfred and to talk about Harvey, the way that I approached this book was um, the only way that I could kind of make the fantastical, the real, and it goes really far out there with kind of crazy concepts and weird places. The only way that I felt like I could sell that was to make sure that the humanity was there. I think there's a I'm going to butcher it, but I think there's a Spielberg's like kind of the way he works, particularly when he was doing his kind of like fanciful films, was that you put normal people in extraordinary situations. You don't put extraordinary people in extraordinary situations. You have to have that normality. So for Alfred, I've never seen a take that portrays him as really as purely as Bruce's father, but he raised him as from like what 10, 12 years old. He's his father.
Yeah.
And like I've never really seen. I mean, obviously, the plenty of like amazing Batman writers have like shown that they love each other. That's not new. But I really wanted to look at the. I'm a father now, and one of the things that kind of comes into being a parent, I think, is guilt. Whether you like it or not. I lost my temper at my daughter the other day, because she was, being naughty, and I'm still feeling guilty about it. And that was just a very small thing, And now imagine that, where you've taken a child that you love, and because of your own perfectly understandable feelings towards wanting some relief from your trauma, you've allowed them to become this thing that puts them in mortal danger every single night. What would that do to you? And that was what I wanted to do with Alfred, was to write that, that humanity. And I would say that Alfred and Harvey are the heartbeats of this book, and we will see them from issue 1 all the way through to issue 3. That they are both on a journey. And it's a quite, there are parallels with that journey, because at the center of that journey is both of their relationship with Bruce. Let's not forget, Harvey and Bruce were friends.
Mhm.
And what does that do? Every night Batman goes out and beats up Harvey, who used to be his friend. There's something not quite right there. And there's
Yeah.
something, how does the character deal with that? How do they both deal with that? So I really wanted to kind of bring a different, bring my what I felt was, how would I feel if I was that character, and bring that to it, and so that, in the hope that, when people read it, there's an empathy there, that you really connect. And I think kind of, with all, even with, like, your scary villains, if you can empathize with them, I think that often makes them far more terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you referred to Alfred and Harvey as two of the heartbeats of the story. One of the heartbeats of the entire Batman mythos is Arkham Asylum itself.
Mm.
And I love how, so we're halfway through the issue here, where Batman is returning to Arkham Asylum, and we have here our direct reference to Grant Morrison and Dave McKean's Arkham Asylum.
Yes,
Where,
we've got.
he's arriving, says, home to Gotham's criminally insane. I hate it here. Years ago, I was forced to spend a night in it. In my worst moments, I wonder if perhaps I never left.
Hmm.
And the suggestion, the respect given to that book, in the suggestion that that story is still affecting Batman now, as it should, is
Hmm.
a great way to be beginning the opening chapter of this story.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's I love that. I mean, one of my favorite films is John Carpenter's Mouth of Madness.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's
Hmm.
those levels of kind of reality, and that kind of the scene where it's just like, oh my God. I love films and stories where just there's no escape. There's no escape. You're
Yeah.
doomed. And I felt that, what an interesting idea to kind of drop that in, that's almost how he feels, like he's going around with his reality, but there's this seed of doubt that, oh my God, have I lost my mind? And this is all like my delusion, and I'm in a cell somewhere. I thought that was just too. That was how I feel I would feel if I was Batman. And I had that trauma overnight. Again, trauma, trauma, trauma. It's all how we deal with things, and sometimes how we don't deal with things.
Mm. Yeah. I also I think it's something that you kind of see as at the beginning of the issue, and then it really kind of comes to the forefront at the end of the issue, where
Mm.
you see trauma, you see this idea of something horrible and horrific happening that people go through, and how it influences and impacts them. And there's a character at the very beginning where you're not sure of who it is and what he's been
Yeah.
through. As the issue unfolds, you start to hear about his loss and his anger and his want for revenge and that kind of thing. And it kind of, you see how it plays, where trauma has an opportunity to push somebody to a place where they could either learn and they could grow and they could I guess accept and really kind of have this opportunity to forgive and overcome, or they could just fall into its depths and depravity.
Hmm.
And at the end, you kind of see the potential for that, and it's kind of like, oh
Yeah.
my god, like where is this gonna go?
Yeah,
What direction
exactly.
are we gonna go here with this character? So
Exactly. I mean,
yeah.
and and that's he's such a key part of this story, and that's why I wanted him to be from Smallville, because I wanted him to be from a place
Oh,
that that we associate with
hope.
hope, happy families, a small local community. It's not crime ridden, it's not diseased, it's a warm, happy place to grow up. And he loses his father to what he learns is corrupt cops, and and so he comes to Gotham, and Gotham gets its little tentacles and its tendrils into him, and his journey is going to be kind of like the kind of the thing that is really important for Bruce, because I like this idea that, I mean, I don't want to say too much because a lot of this is in issue 2, but it's there's, in the way that Alfred kind of weaponized Bruce's trauma, that obviously Bruce has done that himself, and we will explore that going forward. And there's that scene where in the Batcave where we see Barbara comes to kind of check on them, and her and Alfred have that conversation, and she kind of muses, would there be a Batman if Bruce had gone to therapy? And that's the thing, and I'm kind of, I want to be able to have those kind of conversations, and I'm kind of, I want to have my cake and I want to eat it. Obviously, if Batman had gone to therapy, there'd be no story. So we're not going to do that because otherwise there'd be no story. In the same way that I always hate when people on social media bring up time and time again going, well, why doesn't Bruce Wayne use his millions to kind of solve crime? I'd be like, because there'd be no story. That's not the story. Do you know what I mean? Like, but there is I reference that when he's talking to the doctor at the Arkham Asylum. There is a suggestion that that he could be putting money into Arkham Asylum and helping. So I want to have those discussions, but not negate the story of what Batman is.
Yeah. Speaking of Grant Morrison, he says in an interview, he gives a great example of like being careful to not get hung up on little questions and little things like that, because here
Like
I was
reality.
being asked, yeah, and it was like, what about the wheels on the Batmobile? How does he change the wheels on the Batmobile? And then Grant Morrison is like, there are no fucking wheels. He's like, don't get hung up on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're exactly right. It's you have to just really, I would I want to have those conversations and and be serious and earnest about them. I'm not taking the mickey out of those conversations. Because there is a sense of that I wanted to bring a sense of emotional reality to this. I want the characters to respond in a realistic way to very fanciful things like I was saying earlier with the Spielberg quote. But I don't want to I don't want to disrespect the fantasy. The fantasy still has to happen. It's still got to be a fun ride, because if it's not a fun ride, then why are you paying your dollars for?
Yeah, there are certain details that will always be for another story. Like, well, who goes around and picks up all the batarangs? Well, maybe there's there's this guy that goes around the city and he finds all the batarangs and he sells them on eBay.
Yeah.
But we've never gotten to the point where this is what that story is about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Some of
Alfred
the
does do an inventory that we've learned.
Yeah.
He does do
Yeah.
inventory
We have
in
learned that.
the
Like,
world.
oh, you lost 8 tonight, Master Wayne. One of the details I do love is we just touched on him. The child we're introduced to at the beginning.
Mhm.
His introduction, particularly given the designs that this other Batman, the Batman from below, has for him, his origin, his reason for coming to Gotham, for being put in this situation in the first place, is Gotham had taken something from him. Gotham had given him trauma, and that is such a built-in part of the origin story of every character in the Batman mythos is what
Yep.
Gotham took from them and what trauma Gotham inflicted on them. And
Mhm.
so he's arriving here from that, and his innocence and his lack of exposure to Gotham before is so well illustrated by when he's at the train station buying the ticket. He says he's never seen a bat before. And
Mm.
well, you're going to see a lot of them now, and then he does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I was really happy when I came up with that bit.
Clever.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's he's yeah, he's somebody that he's. I mean, as you say, he's completely innocent. I mean, yes, he does. He's carrying a gun,
Yeah.
and he's come to kill somebody. But he could have very easily have shot that gun at any moment, and he didn't. He's pointing it at the terrible trio. They don't have guns, and he could have killed one of them or any of them. He doesn't. There's a lot of rage in that boy, and but at the moment he doesn't know. He doesn't really know what he wants. He just knows he's feeling a lot of anger, and we'll find out why Batman Below is attracted to that and why he's taken him.
Ooh, I don't want to go too far ahead, but I'm sure there's bigger plans for it. But it almost feels like he is, well, kind of going back to the Harvey thing, right? Harvey seems to be this antenna for this trauma because he's been through a traumatic experience. He seems to be this antenna that can sense the Batman below, and he says there's something bigger there. There's like this evil, there's this bigger evil here, and he seems to be the only one that can kind of tell. And now we see the first time we see Batman below out, he goes immediately to this young boy, and it's
Yep.
almost as if he could smell the trauma on him. It's almost as if like it's evil preying on an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my mind goes back
To be continued.
my mind goes back to the original solicitation for the issue. The part about this other Gotham existing, stating that that this Gotham below was fueled by the fear and hatred flowing down from above.
Yeah.
And that's, when I saw he was latching on to this little boy, I felt like, okay, he's feeding on that fear and hatred that this boy feels for the trauma that Gotham put him through.
He's low vibes. He feeds off the low vibes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just like you, Tom.
Trying to be better. Yeah. What was very cool to see, the Court of Owls back,
Yes.
and just the whole mythos of that, and mixing that into this story, and what I think is cool is like, yeah, okay, the Court of Owls has come into stories here and there, they influenced whatever, but what's cool to see now is like there's division in their ranks. There's inner fighting, and it's interesting. It's like almost like mafia style, where it's like certain factions don't like each other, and there's drama. And now this is something that where they're realizing they have to come together with enemies now. Very, very interesting take, and to see that and to see where that might play out. So very cool to see those characters.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Having the court be a part of the story is a very cool thing when they're used well, but I particularly like when they are used in a manner that seems fitting for them, something important. Like they were, unbeknownst to Gotham, they were protecting Gotham for 100 years from this danger that no one knew was there. Where did the idea come to you that this should be the court that was protecting? Were they always part of a built-in idea?
Yeah, because they're old. Like it has the whole thing is about ancient Gotham. Gotham 100 years ago. Like this had to feel like something. When you're dealing with cosmic horror and you're kind of looking at kind of Lovecraftian stuff, it's a sort of science fiction horror that looks past, not forward. That's the core thing. It's something that's happened. You cannot change that. It has already happened. It's already the end of the world. There's that dread. You're not looking forwards. You're already in it. And so with that idea that these terrible things, Gotham was in it, and it's always been in it, then it has to be the court, and Scott and Greg, created these absolutely wonderful. I mean, my God, that so many great. I mean, we talked about Tinian on the last episode, and he's introduced so many brilliant characters, but the court, there's just something magical about them, and just because they feel like a lot of good Batman villains are this strange opposite to Batman. I mean, you look at the Joker, you look at kind of Harley Quinn, you look at Punchline, you look at all these different characters. They're full of color. They're very kind of often kind of like the polar opposite of what Batman is, and a lot of his villains have that. There's this strange tension between them, but in many ways the court are a mirror to Batman, and they're very. I grew up in 1980s Britain, and the big thing for us as kids was Doctor Who, and one of the most terrifying villains for me growing up was the Cybermen. And in the 80s it was just like a blank face, just you can't read what they're thinking, and it's scary. And for me, the court are exactly the same. It's that blank, unfeeling face, but just this sense of power, and these people are in control. And so it had to be them, and they just seem to fit perfectly into a story about cosmic horror.
And I think part of how well Scott and Greg incorporated them into the mythos is important to what makes them fit so well into this story.
100%.
Having them be this entity, that they frightened Bruce because he thought that he knew the city better than anyone. He thought that he was the one that protected it and made sure everything was right. And then he found out they were there and that they existed the whole time when he thought they were a nursery rhyme. And like how far Scott even went to, if you look back before the New 52 started in his Detective Comics, if you look in Black Mirror, he did the Gates of Gotham miniseries and was already planting seeds in there for the, I think it's in Gates of Gotham, Solomon Kane, I think, had a cane in his hand, and the pommel part, like the top part of his cane, was an owl. And just that those things were already planted there, so that you could think when you're later on, New 52 starts, you're reading this, like, I think I saw some, I think I've seen some owl imagery in Gotham before.
Very, very smart. And and this whole book, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I'm very aware of that, but hopefully I'm doing it and I'm kind of like, praising them at the same time.
Dude, but think of it this way too. The same way that Scott was, coming up with these concepts for the Court of Owls, and knowing that he stood on the shoulders of giants, he was thinking of like Frank Miller and people like that, and Grant Morrison, obviously, that it led to them creating the Court of Owls, and now you're doing this part, standing on the back of what they made with the Court of Owls to introduce this other Gotham and this Batman from below. And maybe 10 years from now it's someone standing on your shoulders and using this other Gotham and the Batman from below and to build their thing.
I mean, that'd be amazing. But right now, what I'm hoping for is a Todd McFarlane toy. That's what I want. I want the toy.
What's Todd say about that, Tom?
Well, we'll see what we can do, Chris. We're doing a lot of cool stuff right now. We're making some interesting things, but I think this will make a great figure. You got a good comic book you got there. We can make a good figure out of this.
we had Todd on here a few years back, and we like having good fun with Todd.
We actually he's been on almost every episode since, really.
Yeah, really.
In a way.
Yeah, he's so cool. I've had a few Zooms with Tom myself because we almost did a Spawn thing at one point, well, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can just sit there and let him talk, and just be like, just keep talking. He's quite a thing.
And he is so giving with his time too. Both,
really is,
I saw him at a con not leave his table all day where he was supposed to, sign for an hour, have an hour off, whatever. He stayed there through the entire day, and then to the end, the day we had him on the podcast here, I was in touch with his assistant while he was on his way into the office. He was going to join the call from in the actual McFarlane office, and she sends me a message, says, "Okay, Todd's stuck in traffic. You were going to get an hour, but now there's only half an hour left." So okay, well, we'll make do with that. It's better than not having him at all. Then Todd shows up there, sits down, and talks to us for an hour and a half.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like him. Yeah.
But
I want my toy, Todd. I want my toy.
We'll get you there. We're just gotta.
What a great looking figure that would be, and and that's just the views we have of him so far. I can't wait for the imagery we get of him in the following 2 issues.
He's been doing these, especially the monster and the cryptid looking rogues. He's been doing these like 12-inch size. I want to say I just saw it was it the Venomized Joker from Arkham Asylum that he just re-released again or just redid.
Okay.
And then he did a Swamp Thing, he did a Clayface, and they're all like 12-inch massive action figures because it's kind of to go to scale with the 7-inch Batman that they got. So that'd be kind of cool depending upon what he chooses to do if he does a line of this one. And he loves this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll have to send it to him. I don't know why I haven't already. I will. I'll do it today. Yeah.
Tag him in every tweet.
He won't get bored of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was another part of the issue I had wanted to bring up here. Of course. Oh yeah, right there with the Court of Owls. I love that we're not only getting just the court members themselves, the affluent people who run parts of the city, each on their own, to collectively run the entire city, but we see again the return of a Talon.
A very specific one.
Yeah, you can't have the court without their weapon. Do you know what I mean? And I wanted to use him in the same way. Yeah, the way that I've written him, he's very much a thing. He's not really allowed to have a life or to exist beyond having a weapon in his hand, even to the point where he's hurt and he has his arm lobbed off. They regrow the arm and reattach it, and he's back out there. And I wanted there to be parallels between the conversation we were having earlier about Bruce and Alfred, and the Talons and the court. And the difference in the way that both of them are viewed. The court don't really care about Talon. They'll send him out, and they'll use him until he's and then they'll use their technology to kind of bring him back and send him back out again. So I thought that worked really well to sort of provide a character that would, be a match for Batman, and be someone that would offer, there's a bit of conflict and tension there because these two guys they're physically able to match each other, and are they gonna get along, but also, from a thematic point of view, I can also draw parallels between everything that's going on. It was a nice tidy package.
And was this is this a thing I was forgetting that was already there before? Was it done before where the members of the court went by names of different breeds of owl?
No. Well done for catching that. No, that's me.
Okay,
Nice.
yes, it's very
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. Yeah,
Keep it up.
those-
Keep it up.
Oh, you.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
was
so-
funny because we'd just been to an owl sanctuary. There's like a kind of like there's a kind of like it's a bird of prey sanctuary not too far from here, and we took my two daughters to go and have a look at, and we went in and there was all the owls, and I was just like, oh, ding ding ding. So
That's
cool,
awesome.
yeah, that's where it came from.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, it just all clicked.
So we've discussed all of these different components that we've all thought were super clever and really well done, and then all of them combined, it's we aren't just saying this because we have you here. We if we weren't into your work, we just wouldn't have asked you to
I wouldn't be on the
but
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is a good book. This isn't
you.
hyperbole that we're telling people that they really want to check this out. If you're listening this late into the episode, hopefully you have already picked it up. But if you decided, maybe I'll just listen to him talk about it instead of reading the issue, you really should go out and check it out. Even if whether you pick up comics for stories, or if you just pick up comics just to check out the art, this it's a strength for both of these. It goes strength to strength on both of them.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And what should we expect from the remaining 2 issues? What do we have coming at us in this story?
Well, I mean, I think issue 2 is even better.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that. I really do. Like issue 1 sets everything up, and issue 2, I really start to kind of drive down on what we're talking about and the thematic stuff, but also driving the plot forward. We will see Gotham Below in issue 2. We see that far more. We get a sense of what Batman Below is all about, and why does he want this lad. And we're gonna have the court. Obviously, we know at the end of issue 1 that they're going to reach out to Batman, but it's how is he going to respond to that? How is Batman going to because he's quite a prideful man, and how is he going to respond to the court reaching out to him for his assistance? And so we're going to have that as well. And a lot of we're going to have. We already know Flamingo is going to be in it, so we've got that. So what's he going to do? There's going to be some other classic rogues in there. One of my favorite Batman villains of all time is going to be in it. I'm not going to tell you who that is, but he plays a very important part in issue 2. And obviously we're going to be carrying on Harvey's story, and looking at how he's coping with stuff.
And just riding on the coattails of the original synopsis, what I take from that is, in addition to the Batman from Below, we will see other characters from below.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm keeping stum about that.
Okay.
Okay.
You keep your secrets. I do want to ask you about Spectrograph. So you're doing Spectrograph. It's coming early next year. You're working with my favorite author of the past several years, James Tynion. If anyone doesn't somehow know who I'm talking about, he was originally what you would have seen him on first if you were reading that long ago. He was doing backup stories in Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman run. After that, he was doing Detective Comics, and I think he did Batman Robin. He did his own Batman run a little while ago, post all of the Rebirth stuff. These days, he's known primarily in the indie stuff. Something's Killing the Children, Department of Truth. We're now 5 issues deep into World Tree, and that's amazing. And now Christian Ward is combining with James Tynion over at Distillery, the new publisher. So Distillery, the founding editor over at Distillery is fucking Will Dennis, Vertigo and Black Label. He's a rock star on his own, but then you've got James Tynion, Christian Ward, Ram V is over there, Jock is over there, just Atula Lote, Becky Cloonan. It goes on, and it's insane. But the two of you are doing this horror story. Not a lot is out. I got to read Devil's Cut back in June, and I put Spectrograph on my pull list back in June because I knew that it was going to be a thing. What can you tell us at this point about Spectrograph?
I can tell you that it's me and James doing a haunted house story. That's what I can tell you. We are doing a book about ghosts and what ghosts means to us, and what what does the idea of a ghost mean. So I mean, I will, I will let James be the one that kind of, it's his story, he can spill the beans. I mean, what I will say is, when I was, my whole career has been moving towards being a singular solo creator, a writer and an artist. That's what I've always wanted to be. And obviously, this Batman book is the first time I've done that. But there are exceptions to wanting to work purely on my own. And one of those exceptions is James Tynion. I mean, he is one of my favorite writers, not just now, ever. I mean, he is so good. I don't think anyone writes a better first issue than James Tynion. But just before we got into call, I was catching up on World Tree. I've not read 5 yet. Zip it. So and same with Nice House on the Lake. He can juggle characters. He's given his character 2 lines in this issue, and yet I know exactly who this character is. How does he do that? And obviously, the artist, the artists he works with are incredible, and they're doing their job as well and bringing these characters to life. But he's so good at he does really wild. Spectrograph is no different, and again, it's not for me to sort of spoil anything, but it is wild, in the same way that World Tree is kind of like a slasher film, a slasher story, but it's not. And Nice House on the Lake is kind of like an end of the world thing, but it's not. It's he's so good at kind of doing a really wild, out there concept, but packaging it in this very accessible way, and I mean that in the highest praise as I can go. He is so good at structure and like giving out pieces of information, so you know exactly where you are, even if you don't know what's going on. You know exactly what's happening. You get what's happening. And my God, like, does anybody do a better cliffhanger than James?
Yeah. And I've noticed over the years, James has this knack for creating this stable of illustrators that he works with. You mentioned Nice House on the Lake. He's got Alvaro Martinez over there. You've got Fernando Blanco on World Tree, Martin Simmons on Department of Truth, Werther Deladero over on Something is Killing the Children. And that's not even everything that he does, but it's just he has this knack for finding these really talented guys who perfectly complement the story that is being told in that particular book. And
he builds the story for them. Do you know what I mean? Like Spectrograph. Me and James have been talking about Spectrograph for probably getting on 2.5, 3 years now. This is something that's been, we are very much mutual admirers of each other, and this, it was built to me, for me, and what a great honor, and it's, I don't know, there are other writers that I would love to work with, but it may be after I work with James, it's just me solo, but I'm so glad, and I'm so happy that kind of like, the planets have aligned, and I've been able, we're able to do this book together, and it's so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. And here's the other thing, I'm I'm working on issue 3 of Batman now, and I'm under no illusions that when I finish that book, I'm gonna have the blues. 100%. I'll be down. I'll be like, my dream book. I've done it. And there'll be a sense of, wow, I've done it. Congratulations and all that. But there'll be that I'm having such fun day by day, and I don't think I've ever enjoyed myself as much as I have day by day. And I'm going to be a bit like, oh, it's done, but I get to go from that to working with James, and it's just like, my God, I really am a lucky son of a bitch.
And you'll have, as a consolation for having finished your baby, you will get to move into having your turn with, a James Tynan shared creation, to have your turn for a book that goes into 18th print on issue 1.
Wouldn't that be nice? Oh,
And
yes,
now,
please.
and this is one of the covers that we're looking at here. Is this an issue 1 cover?
That is not a cover. So basically, me and James have been working on it for a long time, and I did that as a kind of test piece to kind of get the idea of what it might look like. We've since moved away from that. I mean, there's elements of that that are going to be in. I mean, I just felt like there was similarities with some of the visuals there that he's now using in World Tree. Just completely, so it'll be different. But it was such a cool piece. I wanted to put it out there so people can kind of see. But tonally, it's what you can expect. But
so do you feel this your cover for Devil's Cut is maybe more representative?
That's a little bit more representative, and obviously the pages that are in the book are very close. But I mean, we're still, I haven't started working on it yet, but I'm considering doing some physical artwork for it, not digital. So it might look quite different. I haven't decided yet, but you'll like it. You'll like it.
Excited to see it either way. I know, I love everything James does. I love everything you do. So I know everyone's in for a treat when that happens. And that's coming 2024.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh, we got a special guest.
Yeah, I might have to.
Hello.
Oh no, of course, of course.
For sure.
So, come on, should we take you back to bed?
Aww. Well, maybe we put everyone to bed.
Really lovely chatting to you guys. Are you okay with me kind of?
Absolutely.
It's a natural place to stop.
And what a perfect ending. Then we can put everyone to. Christian, could you put all of us to bed?
I'll be there in a minute. Right. Really lovely chatting to you guys.
Have a great night.
Likewise. You have a good night, man.
Cheers, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks very much. Bye now. Cheers.
All right. What a great ending. But that was Christian Ward and his little one. That was Batman City of Madness, issue 1, all full spoilers. Hopefully you read it before you got this far. Anything you want to say before we wrap up, Tom?
No, I think that was the cutest ending to any episode we've ever done.
Well, maybe one day you can outdo it.
All right, I'll cute it. All right, we'll see. We'll try.
There we go. But that was Bat Force Radio with Christian Ward once again. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.